Hey, it's Monday on Lunch Therapy, and I'm in jolly old London, jolly old England. I wish I was, where it's nice and cool and raining. I don't know what it's like there, but it's me and this lovely steampunk rabbit. We're here for you on this Monday morning to set everything aside, all the crazy crap that's going on in the world, and just have a little bit of fun here on Lunch Therapy. Hoy, Todd Lee is here. Welcome. Let's get into this thing and let's have fun. All right. Yeah, we're doing it now. We're doing it. Hoy. So, yes, today is as good a day as any to breathe, I'll tell you. I'm feeling it. It's like 105 degrees here in Los Angeles, and the problem is nobody feels sorry for us. That's the big thing. Nobody cares. There's nobody to complain to. So let's start breathing. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Let it all go. We're going to really let it go today. Really let it go. That's the goal here, is letting go. All right, breathing in through the nose, out through the toes. A lot of fun stuff planned this week. Yeah, there's actually a plan. I know, it's different from most weeks. Let it out. Should we feel sorry for us? No, definitely not. Todd says we all have our own damn problems to worry about. LA. Yes, but yeah, exactly. Okay, in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it out. I'm wearing this shirt today. It has an Airstream trailer on it. I got it. Kamala bought it for me at the Thing Festival there in Port Townsend, Washington. Nothing's happening this year, though. Nothing's happening like that. No fun. And you're welcome for the electricity. Thank you very much for the electricity. Upper northern states, also thank you for the water. I don't know what we'd do without it, but obviously there's an abundance of it. Last week I had a shirt on that had a roll of toilet paper on it, and I was telling you like the guy's name, and I got it wrong and all that stuff. So I'm going to show him again here. This is on one of my favorite websites, which is sort of a secret art website called This Is Colossal. Jim Backor, he does this, and not only does he do this incredible artwork, but he fills potholes with it. Yep. So this is the shirt design that I had. And, these are pretty cool shirts. Maybe not as cool as the Lunch Therapy shirts. Super hot weather, yeah, in Texas as well. So, yeah, as you can see, that's an old-style beer can, so you can guess, if you know your beer, that he's in Chicago. And Chicago, Illinois, as Joe Fury says. There's a Red Star. There's a Purell. Obviously, these are timely potholes. And apparently, he can get in trouble for doing this. I don't know why. I guess it's sort of vandalism of the streets or something like that. So he has to build a little thing around it, like he has to pretend like he's doing construction. And then next thing you know, there's these beautiful artwork presentations where the potholes used to be. Old styles collected from the Chelan. They collect the Chelan water and put it in the old style. I don't know. Is it? It's the water and a lot more. We're also going to now move on to a cute baby elephant, because that's always good. So here we go. Oh, wait. Before we do that, bats and flowers. Yeah, I think, Mary, you should do the pothole. I think you should find some potholes and do some of your artwork, because clearly we need that. But yeah, look at this. Bats. I don't know. I didn't know they were like the bats and the bees, I guess. They're like bees. They like the flowers. Do they pollinate the flowers? What's going on here? Somebody must know. In Michigan, it's 68 to 72 degrees. Yeah, it would be nice to be in Michigan today. Look at this. So if anybody knows what they're doing, I don't know whether they're eating the flowers. What kind of bats are these? I'm sure it's very, very dim. I think Sue Pascal Sweeney gave me these bat videos, along with some other things. Like there's, you know, a butterfly. Always good to have a butterfly around. Just have to let it transform. And we're back to the bats. And now my pool guy is here. He's yelling to me. I'll tell him I'm doing a show. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I need to talk to you about this later because I'm doing a show. It's okay. No worries. Yep, I knew that was going to happen someday. My friend who is doing our pool, he's out there, and yeah, this is live. This is live. So we're moving on from there, and the next thing that I wanted to show you is something awesome, and that was a cute baby elephant. So let's get on with it. So here we go. Cute baby elephant time. Yeah, those bats are really getting in there. All right, so here we go. Look at this. So this is I want to preface this so you know what it is. It is an elephant playing with a dog, and as it says in the caption, the dog gets frustrated after chasing. No, the elephant gets frustrated after chasing the dog. Again, we're learning that all animals are very similar in their personalities. Yes, if anybody wants to show up. No one can show up. We were very, very far away from each other, I'll tell you that. I'm too scared. Oh.
The guy is not messing around.
But yeah, after all this is over, we can all get together. That would be really great. Okay, the next thing is, last week, I just want to stop this for 1 second. This is Kennywood Park near Pittsburgh. And when I was a small child, we used to go there when we went to Pittsburgh. And last week, someone was giving me a hard time because I had a Steelers hat on. And I didn't have a Seahawks hat on, and a lot of us are Seahawks fans here. Die-hard Seahawks fan, dyed-in-the-wool pool guy. Fancy, yeah. I don't know. So you know what? You know, one of the things is the Seahawks. They don't have a roller coaster, do they? Do the Seahawks have a roller coaster? I don't know. Steelers do, and this is it.
There's the whistle, Billy. Let's kick this up, and this one is underway. Here we go.
This is a pretty incredible roller coaster. I like this part. This part, when I went on a roller coaster with Danielle, during this part, he goes. I don't know what that does. If that helps him feel better. I don't know whether he's terrified. Sometimes when I was sick, when I was a kid, I used to make this sound like I was dying. I think that might be tied to what Danielle was doing. Roller coaster. We're almost there. We're almost to the top. And Here we go. It seems like not a big deal. You know, we're up high and everything, but that didn't really go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I love this. I love roller coasters. For some reason, it's relaxing to me. Maybe it's like horror movies for some people. My favorite part is right before the drop. That's kind of like life, right? My favorite part before doing stand-up comedy is the fear just before you go on stage. No, it's actually not. It's actually, I hate that. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so I don't know. Until the Seahawks are going to have to get a roller coaster, I think, if we're going to keep up. One more roller coaster, just because they're fun. It's not amusement park week anymore, but for some reason I'm addicted to these. This is Shikra, Busch Gardens, Tampa. This amusement park must be incredible because we're not going to do the whole thing to the top here. But it must be pretty incredible because they got a lot of roller coasters there. Anybody been to Busch Gardens, Tampa? So this one's good because at the top it really extends that moment before you drop, like Pam likes. Of course, Pam flies airplanes, parachutes. See, it stops here for a second, like oh, it's broken or something. And then Shakira, sexy. See, look at this. It just is like, oh, I don't even know if it's gonna drop. Something must be broken. Yeah. That's crazy. That is some crazy stuff. And one more. In Seattle, what they have is this. They have this. They don't have roller coasters per se, but they do have. So this is a boat crash. It's not bad. The guy was okay. They have this thing called Seafair. Didn't happen this year, but they race these boats, and that is the Oh Boy Oberto boat. So, you know, I mean, sometimes that's better than roller coasters, right? Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Virginia. Oh, Joe, that's where it is? Wow. I thought it was in Tampa. I'm totally wrong. Or maybe there's a bunch of them. Are there a bunch of them? We'll find out. The things we learn. Pam loves airplanes. When we were little kids, one of the things that we liked was to, because of those boats, the hydroplanes, during Seafair, that it would race out on the lake. And because we liked it so much, we would make little wooden boats, and we would drag them behind our bicycles. I don't know if you guys did that, made wooden boats. Did you do that in Virginia, Joe? Oh, then I have been there. Oh, she's been to the one in Virginia. All right, so speaking of Mulva, last week we were talking about how commercials programmed us as kids to be how we are today. A lot of times commercials were responsible. And I was talking about how we used to all say 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, on sesame seed bun, which was the ingredients from a Big Mac. And I had to like deprogram myself from eating Big Macs because it was not that good for me. But I, obviously I had been programmed. So she tells me they had a commercial in the late 80s where not only did they want you to memorize the ingredients of the Big Mac, but they pushed it even farther. They're like, what else can we get these kids to memorize? And they had them memorize the entire menu. So here's that commercial.
Hi, may I take your order, please?
Big Mac McDLT, a quarter pounder with some cheese, filet of fish, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, a Happy Meal, McNuggets, tasty golden french fries, regular and larger sizes, salad, chef, a garden, or a chicken salad, oriental, big breakfast, a McMuffin,
It's the whole menu.
cakes and sausage, maybe biscuits, bacon, egg and cheese and sausage, Danish hash brown, 2 and 4 dessert.
It's everything on their menu.
3 varieties of soft serve, cone, 3 kinds of shakes and chocolatey chip cookies, and to drink a Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, and orange drink is right, and coffee, decaf, 2 a low-fat milk, also an orange juice. I love McDonald's, good time, great taste, and I get this all at one place.
Yeah.
Would you like that to go?
So
Brett,
I was
how
like,
about
did
that?
anybody memorize this thing? First of all, I want to go back to Joe. There are a bunch of them, Busch Gardens. That's why there's so many great roller coasters. Okay, so did anybody actually memorize the whole menu? That was my question. I mean, we memorized the ingredients of the Big Mac, but I don't think anybody would memorize the entire menu. But apparently Lambie 1015 did.
Yeah, this is from back in like the late 80s. This was their menu back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing. Big Mac, McDeal, take quarter pounder with some cheese, filet fish, hamburger, cheeseburger, Happy Meal, McNuggets, tasty golden French fries, regular and largest size, salad, chef garden, or chicken salad, Oriental, big breakfast, egg McMuffin, hot cakes and sausage, maybe biscuit, bacon, egg and cheese, sausage, Danish, hash brown stew, and 4 dessert, hot apple pie, sundaes, 3 varieties, a soft serve cone, 3 kinds of shakes, chocolate cookies, and the drinks, a Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, an orange drink, a Sprite, a coffee, decaffeinated too, low-fat milk, and also an orange juice.
I mean, they even had like coffee and decaffeinated coffee. They had like everything in that thing. And none of it's good for you. All right. I got to move on because there's a lot going on today that I have not even close to gotten to. I did happen to find some pictures of some wooden hydroplanes on Linda Letter's website. And I wanted to show you, that's the bottom of one. So we put nails on the bottom of it so that sparks would fly as we went around the corner. And then that's the top of one. And then Linda Letters, I put her there because that's, her picture. But Todd Lee, do you have one of these? Was this something you guys did too? I don't know. Anybody else? Sue, Pascal, did you have any boats that you drag behind your bikes? I had a good friend named, good friend named Andy get Lambie written as his name at Starbucks on the Starbucks cup. Oh, because of the guy's name. I'm like, what is this? Yeah, that guy's name was Lambie. That's probably the same guy. Did he have a real Kentucky accent? I don't know if that guy had a Kentucky accent. So the question I had about this is that I want to explore in this moment is who are my role models growing up? What kind of role models do we have? So here the commercials are programming us to eat incorrectly, memorize entire menus. I like how Budweiser sponsored the bike boat. Oh, this is the boat. The boats in Seafair are all sponsored, and they're sponsored by, I don't know, businesses. I didn't even realize they were all businesses. Like there was Atlas Van Lines, and there was the Budweiser, Miss Budweiser. They call it Miss. There was the Miss Rock, which is the KISW, K-Rock? No, I don't know. You guys will tell me. Local rock station, KISW, I think. Yes, so I got to take a look at this. See above. Oh boy, Oberto. Oh boy, Oberto. That was the other sponsor. My brother and sister-in-law got stuck on the top of a stand-up roller coaster at Magic Mountain for about 20 minutes. What of you? I'd be terrified. So who are our role models? Our role models were these guys who drive the boats around. That was a big one for us, growing up in Seattle at least. We also, I don't know. We looked up to them. I also had, let me see if I can find it here. My role models, well, there was this guy who was the mayor of the city dump, and then his friend who wore a mop on her head. There was, of course, a moose and a guy named Kangaroo. That was one of my role models. The guy named Kangaroo was not a kangaroo. There was Mr. Rogers, of course, but I could never quite understand what was going on with him when I was young. I think I was too young to understand. And then there was this...
This is Evel Knievel and the Evel Knievel shock-absorbing stunt cycle. You can make him do wheelies, backstands, even mid-air somersaults. And for that big jump, here's Evel, up and over that 4-foot ditch.
So I was trying to figure out what it was about Evel Knievel. Like when we were kids, that was what we did. Is we had this little cycle, and we had and you'd wind it up with this little crank, and then he'd go flying off, and God knows where he'd go. You had no control over him. He'd just go flying off and smash into something, and we would take it, like we took it up to Paul Barbano's parents' roof, and then wound it up and flew him off of there. But there was no planning as like the landing at all. And we had other things like the SSP, which was like this. That sound today still gets me excited. Sometimes when the fan belt goes out on my car,
When you pull that T-stick,
I get a
those SSP
little
racers
tingle.
with power.
And I think it's
Take
because
that action.
I remember the sound of these
Smash 'em.
SSPs.
Smash 'em.
I don't know what SSP stands
New
for.
SSPs with
We also had these.
He's a
Which were
demolition
SSPs that
demon
smash
and
into
beat up
each other,
Silver
the doors
Lake.
fall off.
It ain't worth a dollar,
This is
so he
something
wrecks
that
it
we were
every day.
aspiring
Now
to as
here's
well.
Skinner's SSP Smash Up
SSP
Derby
Smash Up
set.
Derby, I don't know.
And you can hoot and holler, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Crash, bang, crack 'em up, put 'em back
Put it back together.
again. Crash, bang, smash 'em up, it's smash up time, my
So I watched the movie Being Evil. Yeah. Being Evil. Because I was trying to figure out, let's see, Joe. See, Joe had that toy. I knew you did. Pam, she watched Captain Kangaroo and Sheriff John, and then there was Mr. Green Jeans. God knows why they called him that. Yes, Mr. Green Jeans, Dancing Bear. It was quite confusing, all of that. It's funny that you mentioned that dancing bear. I have this video of a dancing bear that I've been sitting on for a long time from Captain Kangaroo. And I'm not going to show it now because it's so disturbing. But it's this dancing bear. Ginny, I'm going to show that tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Rex Sykes, who is Ginny's brother. And the reason we're having him on the show is two reasons. One is because he was a member of the Rajneesh in Oregon. And we were talking last week, we talked to Agyat, and we were trying to find out about the Rajneesh and the cult in Oregon. And it turns out Agyat, although he's a follower of Osho, the Bhagwan, he's a super enlightened person, and he was never involved in the cult because he, at least in Oregon, because he was not born yet. So there you go. All right, we got some Twitchers. How many pieces in those toys for today's kids? Evel Knievel's cape was nice and flammable too. Yeah. So I want to get back to this. So what was it about Evel Knievel? So I watched this movie, Being Evil, because I wanted to get into the mindset and figure out what the hell was this guy doing? Because we would watch him and he'd jump, he'd jump buses. He'd jump the Snake River Canyon. He jumped the fountain at the Caesar's Palace. And every time, probably most of the time, when he landed on the other side, he'd just smash and break a bunch of bones and barely be able to get up. And why was he doing that? And why were we so enthralled in it? And what was the mentality of that, and how does it affect us? So we have 5 minutes left in the show, and somehow we're going to figure that out. We're going to have to go over. So Evel Knievel. Here he is. There he is jumping his motorcycle. For those of you maybe in the Twitch room that don't know Evel at the time, nobody was doing this kind of thing. I'm getting some really weird twitches, which is great. So that's Evel Knievel, for those of you that don't know. He was a cyclist. Okay, so I'm going to give you the background of Evel Knievel so we can figure out what the heck was going on. So he was born in Butte, Montana. And apparently in Butte, Montana, they were very, they did a lot of wrestling, fighting with one another, because it's very, kind of like an Old West kind of town. And he had a motorcycle, and he would drive around, and he was just kind of a rebellious kid. And I think it was because his parents broke up when he was a little kid, and they just took off and left him with his grandparents. And I think what that does to a kid, Mike Hanson's here. I think what that does to a kid is that makes you always trying to get your parents back. Always trying to be like, hey, how about if I do this? How about if I do this? How about if I do this? And so a lot of times what you do is you act out. Maybe you get in a lot of fights. Maybe, whatever you can do to get them back. Maybe you get a motorcycle, you drive around town. So apparently the cops would chase him all around town, and it was really hard to catch him. And so they started calling him evil. And then one day they did catch him, and he was in the jail cell. And I guess they were just really good-natured cops back then. But they had him in the jail cell, and there was another guy named Knoffel who was next to him in the cell. This is a true story. Another guy in the cell named Knoffel. And they said, oh, tonight we got to watch it because we got Awful Knoffel and Evil Knievel. And Evil Knievel just liked that name so much. He was like, I'm going to call myself that. But I'm going to spell evil, E-V-E-L, because, then people won't think that I'm actually evil. So then what happened is then he just grabbed some girl from school, got married, took off, and he, of course, the next logical thing was to go into the insurance business. And he started working for this insurance company, and it just so happens the guy who runs the place wrote this book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. So W. Clement Stone was the guy who owned the insurance company where Evel Knievel worked. And this is where we get the name of the show. The name of today's show is Can Positive Thinking Be Dangerous? And we're going to find out. So he's working for Clement Stone. Clement Stone is, giving him all kinds of motivation and positive thinking, and he really takes to it. In fact, he starts selling record numbers of insurance, like hundreds of insurance policies in a day. He sets the record, and he tells Clement Stone, this is Clement Stone. He says, hey Clement, if I sell the most ever in one day, and I break the record for the company, will you make me a vice president? And Clement Stone said, well, no, of course not. And thus Evel Knievel, the cyclist, was born. So Evel Knievel, what he did then was he moved to Moses Lake, Washington. That's where he did his first jump. So he was selling motorcycles in Moses Lake, Washington, and he needed to sell more, and he was like, I'm not getting enough people in here. He was doing okay, but he's like, I'm not getting enough people in here. Maybe if I do something crazy, maybe I can get their attention. So there's a mix of trying to get his parents' attention and trying to sell and trying to positively think himself into millions of dollars. And he did it. He managed to do this from there. So what he did is he first jumped a bunch of snakes and some big cats. He got some big cats together and some snakes, and he got a ramp, and they were like, what are you doing? What are you, nuts? And he's like, well, this is the way people are going to see the motorcycles. And back then, the motorcycles, we all watched. Yeah, it's true. It is a lovely story. I learned so much from the show. Yes, Moses Lake, really, truly. So anyway, so he gets some people came, but what happened was he jumped the snakes, and of course he smashed into the box. There was like a freezer container that had the snakes in it. He smashed into that. He didn't make the jump. The snakes spilled out all over everything and went after and these were like rattlesnakes. They went after the crowd, and it didn't bother him at all. He just rode around, got back up on the ramp, and was waving to everybody. And that was the beginning of his career. And so at the time, we were one of the things that we watched all the time, and I don't know if you guys watch this, but if yins all, you all. Wonder how I got named Potholes. People used to store their pot in there. So what happened was there he is still in Moses Lake, Washington. He's like, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? But we used to watch Wide World of Sports, this show. It was on like 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Everybody watched it. It was one of the most watched shows in television. And the beginning was like this.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant
So
variety of sport. The thrill of victory.
So this is the thing that
The agony of defeat.
always got us. The agony of defeat.
The
And there were all
human
kinds of
drama
rumors about that guy who crashed, and it was the agony of defeat. And so I mean, we kind of enjoyed that, and they were already selling us, cars that smash into each other and stuff like that. So when Evel Knievel came along, he was like the ultimate anti-hero. And I think for our generation, we were just coming out of the Vietnam War. We had a president, Richard Nixon, who was impeached, and then he was going to be indicted, and then the vice president, Gerald Ford, came in and he let him off the hook. He pardoned him. So there's a lot of cynicism going on in the world. And then apparently Evel Knievel shows up, and he showed up. Somehow he got himself on the Wide World of Sports. And that's how, if they were doing some kind of motorcycle race, and he said, I'm going to get in there and jump these cars. And he got in there, jumped these cars. And apparently it was perfect. Like he landed perfectly. And the next thing he decided to do was jump Caesar's Palace fountains in Las Vegas. And the way so this is where the positive thinking comes in. This is how he did it. So he decided, hey, I think I'll jump a motorcycle over the fountains at Caesar Palace. I don't know if I could do it. I've never done it before. It's not like he was really practicing. And the motorcycles at the time were like 500 pounds. They're just big, heavy Harley Davidsons. But for some reason, he decided that's what I'm going to do. He had positive thinking. He had no fear. And so what he did is he started just calling news outlets like the Wide World of Sports or any kind of news outlet that he could find, and was like, who's this Evel Knievel guy? And he would pronounce his name wrong and stuff. He's like, what's going on? And then he started calling the owner of Caesar Palace and saying, I hear Evel Knievel is going to be jumping the fountains out in front of the Caesar's Palace. And finally the guy got so many phone calls, he was like, I guess this is happening. I guess I better get a hold of this Evel Knievel guy. He used to play golf with the guy that had the ski crash. That's incredible. Incredible. Kind of like the pits of despair, the agony of defeat. It was great when he met the $6 million man. Yes. Another one of our idols later on. So Evel Knievel gets the motorcycle, gets the ramps at Caesar's Palace, goes for the jump. Everybody showed up to see this thing. It was all over the news. It was on television. And of course he just bit it. Every time he would just bite it. He broke almost every bone in his body. He actually has the world record for breaking the most bones in his body. There's all kinds of charts out there about all the bones that Evel Knievel broke. And yeah. So he became the most celebrated person. When we were growing up, he was one of the most celebrated people. And apparently every time he was on TV, everybody would watch. And then he decided he was going to jump the Snake River Canyon. Somebody just said, because apparently when he was a kid, people would say, you can't do that. And then inevitably he would do it. He said if you told him he couldn't do anything, do something, he would do it. So somebody was like, well, why don't you jump the Grand Canyon? But he couldn't get a license for it, so he decided to jump the Snake River Canyon. And he did the jump again, and he made it. That's the thing, is he would get back up on that motorcycle. That's the lesson, Mike Hansen, is that he would get back up on the motorcycle. I guess that's the lesson. I don't know, because he would kill himself. So then I remember this when I was a kid, and they made this rocket, and they shot him over the Snake River Canyon, and they'd never really done it before. In fact, they did a test run, and the thing landed just crashed and burned. And apparently they did that just to mess with us. They did it on purpose. Yeah. And so, but when they finally shot the rocket, apparently it was like Woodstock there, but an evil Woodstock. There were all these orgies and horrible, all this drinking and apparently there were fights, and there was a high school band that went, and they had on the movie they interviewed people that were in the high school band, and it seemed like child abuse. So when he finally shot out of the rocket, the parachute deployed right when the rocket shot up into the air, and so it stopped the rocket midair, and then it just kind of floated down. They thought he was probably going to die because it was just going straight down, this rocket, straight down into the gully. You had the rocket. They had a toy rocket too. Yeah. And so then he smashed in there, and I remember that he said, the only thing he said was, "My nose hurts." But he was fine. He was totally fine. And then shortly thereafter, because that didn't kill him, he decided to go to London and jump 14 buses, Wembley Stadium, completely missed, smashed himself so badly that when he got up, he said, "I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do it again." And of course, he did it again. And the weird thing about it is, he made millions and millions of dollars, like ridiculous amounts of money. He would buy jets and cars and clothes, and he had this fancy cane with all these jewels on it and stuff. And you know where most of the money came from? The toy. The little toy that we were playing with. That's where most of the money that he made, like millions and millions and millions of dollars. Positive thinking? I don't know. So Joe had the rocket. I had the motorcycle. We all had it. It was super cool. And then eventually, he was so kind of injured, and things started going kind of badly, and he got really grumpy. I guess around the Snake River Canyon time, he got super grumpy. And one of his close confidants, one of the people that worked for him, recorded him, and he has these tapes of Evel Knievel just being evil with an eye, just talking about people, just smack behind their backs and all this stuff. And so that guy decided, hey, I think I'll write a book. And so he wrote a book about Evel Knievel. And by now they had made a movie about him. George Hamilton played him. It was, he was huge. He was huge. The guy writes a book about how awful he is. And Evel Knievel, at this point, his temper was just nuts. And maybe it was from all the drinking, because he did drink a lot, apparently. He just partied, and he was out cheating on his wife all the time, and he's just a mess. And so he got so mad at that guy that he went over, he found him, and he beat the guy with an aluminum bat. Just started pummeling the guy. Yeah. He was grumpy from pain. I imagine he probably was grumpy from pain and brain injuries. I think you're right. That was something that they were talking about, was maybe he had injured his head. And that does happen, as we know from the Zankou chicken fiasco that I will tell you about someday. That sometimes, stuff goes on in your brain and weird stuff can happen. So he beat this guy up. But the weird thing about it is he went to prison, and he was in prison. It's a long story. He was in prison for a while, and they would actually let him go at night. He would go home. He'd go out. He'd have a limo pick him up. Oh no, he was there all night, and then the day he could leave. And so he would have his limo pick him up and take him to the bar. So there wasn't any real remorse at the time. And then he even took a bunch of his fellow inmates, and they went somewhere. And that's when they were like, no, this can't happen anymore. And that's when Kenner was like, I don't think we can make these motorcycles and have kids look up to this guy anymore. And then everything just went downhill. I guess he had spent all his money. All of a sudden he was broke. And then we couldn't look up to him anymore. And we were like, what do we do now? Leading the way in opioid addiction. So I always wondered why Johnny Knoxville would do these crazy things and try and injure himself. And then I find out he was a huge fan of Evel Knievel, and now that all makes sense. All that stuff. You know, the jackass and how they'd totally like hurt themselves all the time because they were following in the footsteps of this guy, Evel Knievel. I never followed in the footsteps of this guy. I just had the toy. And but yeah, so it turns out Johnny Knoxville made this movie about Evel Knievel. And the other weird thing, to call back to last week, was that Johnny Knoxville grew up going to Action Park. And I don't know if you saw this last week, but if you haven't, there's nothing in the world like Action Park. There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
Action family with over 50 exciting rides, shows, and attractions.
It's bigger and better than ever. Something for everyone looking for fun. Get ready for the action.
At the world's largest participation park, where you and the rides become...
So if you missed that episode, it is the world's most dangerous amusement park. So Johnny Knoxville made that movie about Evel Knievel, and he also made a movie, apparently I found this out, made a movie about Action Park.
Let's see what this baby can do.
Okay, I gotta go. Thanks for taking care of her, Dad. She loves having you around.
Get it at the bottom of the ball. Really hot.
I have not seen this film. I cannot vouch for it. But I hear it's pretty odd.
What's our attendance today?
I hear it's pretty odd.
45%. What? Suppose you probably heard you got some...
All right, I've run out of time. I just wanted to just say one thing about the guy that got me to this Evel Knievel thing. And it's this guy right here. This is a kid in 1974. His name is Ricky Sayers. Ricky Sayers was clearly a big fan of Evel Knievel as well. Now he's a puppeteer. Yeah. And I wanted to show you a little bit of his work. I want to look into this guy. I do not know him, but he's very intriguing to me. And you're going to, yeah, Mike's going to, yeah, you're going to have to see the Action Park movie. I don't know. I saw some reviews, not so good according to the reviews, but you never know. Sometimes they're wrong. So this is the Ricky Sayers Instagram. And I just want to look at it for a second because there's some interesting stuff on here. And it's Evel Knievel related. Let me see if I can find a good one. So this puppeteer is doing Evel Knievel puppetry. Puppetry of the Knievel. And it's some pretty good stuff. And there's some cool sound effects. And let's see if I can find another good one here. He does some where he falls in the same fashion. Oh, this is a good one, probably. Some Knievel artwork. There he is in the background. Whoa! That's pretty much the way Evel Knievel would do it, too. I mean, it's very accurate, I think. Here's another one. Anyway, it's dance break time. It's the end of the show. I went a little long. I don't even know what I'm doing. I was just sort of exploring the idea of Evel Knievel and why we looked up to him so much. And the thing is, he seemed like he maybe had some destructive qualities about him. I know that he said this. I'll share this one thing with you.
Being a hero in the United States of America is the shortest lived profession that anybody could ever... Being a hero in the United States of America is the shortest lived profession that anybody could ever hope to participate in.
That was a little taste of the mentality of what it was to be our hero back in the 1970s. All right, so moving on. This music's kind of melancholy, but nice. So now we're entering the show. It's the dance break. These are some guys that I found. They're playing some Led Zeppelin with cellos. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's more to ponder with Evel Knievel. That was just sort of like, that was him. Cool puppetry. Yeah, we were going to look at Ricky Sayers a lot more because he's much deeper than just the Evel Knievel. He performs drums. Anyway, maybe we can get him on the show. But tomorrow, we have Rex Sykes on the show, who is Ginny Sykes' brother. And he was in the Rajneesh cult. And he also wrote a book. So, it should be cool. Oh, the music's loud. Thank you. I love it when you guys tell me stuff. This is music from Westworld. I love the music in Westworld because, especially when they were in the Western part, they would play that player piano. I don't know, the person who does the arrangements it's so beautiful. Like, they'll be playing Soundgarden on the piano, but it's like a completely different piano arrangement. And I find it beautiful. And of course, the intro is beautiful as well. But here we go. Da Gambas. Oh, now I'm too quiet. Sound is my nemesis. Sound. Thanks, Todd. So what I was saying was on Westworld, there's somebody who arranges the music, and it's beautiful, like in the opening of the show. But also when they were in the Old West, you would hear like the player piano playing in the background, and you'd all of a sudden realize it was Soundgarden or some modern band. And yeah, I turned myself down. That's what I did. Never turn yourself down. Never do it. Okay, I got to get to like Da Gambas. Tell the guy on the soundboard, no more bong hits until the show. All right, here we go. American song, Led Zeppelin, played by Da Gambas. Check these guys out. I'm heading out. We'll see you tomorrow for some fun with Rex Sykes.